there's a decision that you have to make that you already know the answer to. You're not confused. You're avoiding the conflict. There are conversations that you need to have, or there are decisions about your life that you need to make. And instead of cutting to the chase and just doing what needs to be done, you circle around that decision. You ask yourself, well, maybe I can do this, or maybe if I do this, or maybe if I say this, or what if this happens, and what if that happens, instead of making that choice and making that decision. That indecision is still a decision. It's still a choice that you're making. But you think about all of the things that could go wrong, or the misinterpretations, or the, you know, what ifs that may happen. You make a pros and cons list, or you write out all these different things. You journal about it, you discuss it, you ask for 5 different people's opinions about it, and you don't actually make the choice and that decision that needs to be made. It's easy to get caught up in that quagmire and that circle of asking all of these questions that don't move you forward, that don't get you to where you need to go. But if you need to change that job because the boss is not recognizing your talents, or you need to have that tough conversation with a loved one, with a partner in life, or someone else in your family, or you need to have that tough conversation with yourself, and you're avoiding that, you're avoiding looking at what really needs to be taken care of, you're not moving forward. You're stuck, you're stagnant, you're caught up in this mess of not sure. I don't know. I'm confused. What if I don't come up with the right answer? Even if you come up with a wrong decision, it's still a decision that may move you forward. You can always adjust, you can always shift, you can always pivot, but you need to make a decision and make a choice to do something different in your life. Roy always tells the kids, instead of going outside the door and taking a right, make a left. Just one small little change in what you're doing can help you make a decision that's a little bit more, that feels a little bit more comfortable. It doesn't have to be this big, massive choice, life choice that's going to just tear everything down and make you start over again. If this hits, then like and subscribe. Share this video with other people, other women who need to hear this message. I'm going to be live on February 27th in our Skool community about this exact topic. It's called Make the Decision. Come and join us if you want to actually make a choice and make this decision a reality and have a clear next step. Understanding that what you need to do to move forward. And it's not just more processes and more, writing out these lists of different things that you need to do. No, you need to have this idea in your head that even a small decision that moves you towards that end goal that you're looking for is a decision, is a choice that will actually move that needle in the direction that you want it to move. Sometimes you need a little bit of help. Sometimes you need somebody that says, look, this is what you need to do, and is open to hearing what you need to say, what you want to say, and is not going to judge you and say, oh, that's way wrong. Sometimes talking to people that we know and that we're comfortable with, we feel like we need to guard what we say. We don't want to hurt feelings. We don't want to be misunderstood. We don't want to have the entire situation misconstrued. If we need to talk to our boss about having a better understanding of what it needs to change, maybe we're taking on too much work and we can't keep up with the workload. Or maybe we don't have a good understanding of what it is that we need to be doing, and we need to be able to communicate this with those around us. And if making that decision and thinking that we don't have it in us to be able to have that conversation, when we have to have that tough conversation, we want to be sure that what we're saying comes across in a way that we're absolutely understood. And we doubt ourselves. We, create confusion in our heads by overthinking this and trying to come up with a perfect way of saying things. Sometimes it's not a matter of figuring out the perfect way of saying it. It's a matter of saying things and then understanding that how somebody reacts or how somebody responds is what we need to work on next, but at least we've said what we need to say, or we've done the thing that we need to do. We've made that decision to move forward in whatever capacity that may be. It's not always having a tough conversation. Sometimes it's, do I want to stay in this situation, or do I want to continue down the same path, or do I want to adjust what I'm doing in my job? I recently had this situation with myself because I realized that what I was building as far as a business wasn't really a business because I wasn't making an income. It was a hobby in which I got to create all these amazing things, all these great digital products, all these, t-shirt ideas and all these different things in books and all these things that I was creating. But I wasn't making a decision to actually share what I wanted to share in a way that brought me an income. And so having that tough conversation with myself and making the decision that I needed to pivot the way that I was building my business was very hard. It was a really tough thing to go through. But my process for me is journaling, is writing things out, is getting on here and just kind of talking out what I want to do and giving my voice a means to come out, to be expressed. And it's not, I know Roy's going to watch this video and be like, why didn't you just talk to me? Sometimes it's difficult to talk with somebody that you love about things that you're struggling with because you don't want to look weak. I don't want to look weak. I don't want to seem like I don't have it all together. And there's a lot of times when I really don't have it together. And as my partner, I know he sees that. But making that decision is something that I need to do on my own because it's a decision about something that I want to create, that I want to say that I did this. And we get caught up in, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to approach this. I don't know where I need to go next or what I need to do next. And so, even if we ask for five different people's opinions, we still have to be the one to make that decision. And it's not always that easy. We seem to compound the difficulties in our mind instead of breaking it down and saying, okay, so if I did this first step, if I, for instance, created this first video, or I rearranged the things that I've already created into a process that makes more sense, or created something that people are actually looking for instead of what I think is needed out in the out there, out in the world. It's realizing that one small step in the direction that you think you need to go makes a difference because you can always change. You can always pivot. You can always take a right instead of a left or a left instead of a right. You can always adjust. But if you're not moving forward, if you're not making that decision and not making that choice, or you're making that choice and that choice is the indecision, how do you move forward? How do you grow? How do you expand? How do you improve the life that you're building for yourself? Because every day we're doing something to either improve the life that we're living or stay stagnant or stay in a place that we're not happy. Just because it's comfortable doesn't mean that it's where you need to be. When things get uncomfortable and you step outside of that box and you realize that, oh my gosh, this is kind of tough, but I'm enjoying myself. I love what I'm doing. I'm making a forward progress. That's when you start realizing that, yes, even though I just made that one little tweak in my life, I said that thing that I needed to say, or I did that thing that I needed to do. I moved in a way that enabled me to make another decision that made things easier for me to move into that direction that I want to move in. It's all a matter of just doing the thing that you need to do. And it's we 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 think that it has to be this big grandiose thing. We look at our end goal or our decision as this end point that is massive. And we don't realize that in order for us to get there, there are smaller steps before it that we can take. We lose that because we're so focused on this big thing that we need to do, that big decision that we need to make. If this is hitting because you know that I'm describing you, then hit like, subscribe, follow along. These are the types of videos that I share quite often. And it's not just for you, it's also for me, because I know that doing these things and moving forward is what we need to do in our lives to improve our situations, to improve our lives, to have fun, to live life, not let life take over and not let life just steamroll us. It doesn't have to be that way. If you share this, it helps us reach more women who need this message, who need this information, who need to be able to move forward in their lives. If you're not already subscribed, make sure that you do. This whole channel is about stopping that spiral, about changing things in your life, about improving your situation and who you are and who you want to be, helping you to move forward, to actually moving in the direction that you want to move. So here's what that avoidance is costing you. It's costing you your happiness. It's costing you your joy. It's costing you living a life that you really want to live. When you're not making the decisions that you need to make to change things up in your life, to improve your life, to improve who you are on the inside as well as the outside, you're stuck in this comfortable but uncomfortable space. You're stuck in this situation or this job or this relationship or this area that doesn't satisfy you, that doesn't bring you bliss, that doesn't help you to improve yourself and make yourself a better person. And I know that it's not always easy to admit that things need to change, or it's not easy to want to change because you create this image of change in your mind that it's going to be horrible, it's going to be terrible, everything's going to fall apart, nothing's going to work out, and your brain starts spiraling into all these negative questions and negative scenarios that can be created by making this change in your life. You go back and your mind is caught up in all those past experiences that you had, that things didn't move forward the way that you wanted them to move forward, or they did move forward and they didn't work out the way that you had imagined because you thought, oh, things are going to be fantastic if I do this particular thing. And then things don't turn out quite so fantastic. But that doesn't mean that that thing that happened is not what's in your best interest. Trust me when I tell you, sometimes when you're in the middle of a situation, it looks like shit is falling down on your head and there's nothing you can do about it. I remember when I got divorced, I thought everything was going to just fall to shit. Everything was going to fall apart. And in some sense, it did. In some sense, everything that I thought was working out perfectly, everything that I thought was working out the way that it was supposed to, didn't end up working that way. But I wasn't happy in that situation. It's not that it was a horrible situation and that I couldn't have made it, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't me. I wasn't thriving. I wasn't growing. I wasn't expanding. I wasn't being the person that I was meant to be. I had contracted. I had shut myself off. I had become a completely different person than my true self. And when I started realizing that the decision that I needed to make was to completely change what I needed to do, it was really difficult. It's not easy to make these choices. when I had to change jobs, and I love learning new things. And when I was at this job and I realized that I was stuck and I was stagnant, there was no way for me to move forward. Making a decision and making that choice to change what I was doing again was very difficult. You get caught up in thinking this is the only way that I can survive, or this is the only way that I can make money, or this is the only way that I can, be in a relationship. Or if I get divorced, nobody else is going to want me. If I leave this job, I'm not going to be able to find anything else. Especially for those of us over 50, when we get caught up in our head of when it comes to I lose this job, there's nothing left for me. It's scary. It's really scary because we think, oh my gosh, how am I going to make this? How am I going to survive? We limit ourselves instead of thinking outside of the box and thinking that there are other possibilities. We think that, oh my gosh, I'm too old to learn something new, or I'm too old to start a business, or I'm too old to do whatever it is that I want to do in my life. I'm too old to start a new relationship. Nobody's going to want to be with me. Nobody's going to want to work with me. Nobody's going to want to we go down that spiral of just the shit and get caught up in all of that mess. I keep losing my train of thought because I've got airplanes flying above. I've got garbage men. I picked the worst day to record. My point is that we get so caught up in all the what ifs, and we go down the negative what ifs, not the positive what ifs. Because if we started asking questions and asking ourselves, what if this works out? What if things change and they end up being better than I could have ever imagined? What if I start a business or I start a YouTube channel and it blows up, and it's something that I start for me and I end up doing really well with it? What if I start this business instead of trying to find another job? What if instead of staying in a relationship that is not healthy for me, I end up single and I realize that I don't have to be with somebody else to be happy. I make myself happy. What if we have a better communication with those loved ones around us, and we realize that they're also looking for a greater connection and they're not sure how to speak to us because they don't want to hurt our feelings. So instead of what if and spiraling down that negative shitstorm, we start looking at how we can change things for the better and make a decision to start asking better questions, to start looking objectively at our situation. It's not always easy to take ourselves out of a situation and put ourselves in an objective state and look at that situation in a way that somebody who's outside, who has no bias, who does not know anything about us, can look at that situation and say, here's some solutions. Sometimes we need an objective observer. And if we can't get ourselves into that space, then we need somebody else to help us with that. That said, I'm hosting a live on February 27th in my Skool community. It's called Make the Decision. I'd love to see you there. You're going to leave with having made that decision, with knowing what your next step will be. So, again, if this resonates with you, please like and subscribe. It really helps to grow this channel, helps to share this out to more women who really need this information and are not sure where to find it. Remember, clarity follows commitment. You make a decision and you can make that next first step. That's all it takes.